Jill doesn't have to remind me. Nice coming
There
in.
he is.
How you been?
Yeah, let's go again.
People logging in, so we'll be.
I'm gonna appear over your shoulder.
Sorry, guys. Did everybody get up by 9?
All right.
I've done this before, weird.
All right. The arrows are yours. You know.
No. I take it I'm going side to side.
Yeah. Are you?
You clicked me. Oh, there you go. We got everybody on?
Some people are starting to log on, yeah. So
Okay. We can give it a minute.
We can give it a minute.
Yeah.
So we got Mindy and Mitch and Kevin logging on there,
Okay.
so we get some people logging on and.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
Come on.
Crazy. Is it cold in here?
It
It
is,
is, yeah, it's really-
63 degrees.
It
And I
feels-
don't know, like,
we have no idea
it was
why.
here like this yesterday too. We have no idea why it is that's like that. It's
63
ridiculous.
feels kind of balmy almost anymore.
So I figured, I'm a baseball mom, so I figure I'm gonna just sit here and bring my baseball gear inside.
There you go.
You see those, my friend does soccer and she's got the one that's like a.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Bag kind of.
Yeah, smart.
I even bought an individual zip tent.
Yep.
With a space heater inside.
Yeah.
For the-
I don't have an individual tent, but I never used it. Somebody gave it to me as a gift. Yeah.
We're standing there for 3 hours, the umbrella
Mhm.
looks a little worthless.
Yeah.
On the
There's
horizontal
another
rain
some-
days.
I've
Yeah,
got
but I
friends-
don't do that. Like, for me, it's like, sometimes you can be bougie, right? Like, I can't do bougie.
Over the top.
You know, I'm an East Coast.
I
so I'm
promise
used to like, you
Zip
know.
tent was not bougie.
Well, I realized, but then there was friends like who brought like these massive propane tank,
Oh, yeah.
like whatever, and everybody's got, it's just, you
Patio
know, like, when you
heaters.
start doing baseball at freaking February and you're freaking your
I
turns
know.
on.
Yeah.
So you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I guess I had dancers, so we were always like, you know.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fine.
I know.
I studied dance since I was 3. Until I
You
was
did?
15, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my
And then my
goodness.
first job out of college was actually Juilliard School of Music.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
well in dance division.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
pretty
not
amazing.
easy. That is not easy.
Yeah, I didn't study. I actually worked there, but it was amazing watching the dancers and yeah. Yeah, so.
My youngest
I
still
think you
dances.
used this quote
Oh,
last year.
I'm
And the
leaving,
year before.
I'm leaving
The
it.
injury.
It's a good
I
one.
say I'm leaving it up for about 5 years.
I do have a friend of mine. that-
You also gotta keep buying
who
real
is
estate.
There's the Mark Twain one that I got.
Oh, yeah.
from you. I actually literally posted that for something
She
else.
wants to send it
I
to-
use that all the time.
Yeah.
Because I remember it.
So she worked her way like through.
You know, it's funny,
counseling
we did a
to, like,
group,
yeah, I think now she's.
like 300 people or something down in Newcastle. And I said, hey, somebody came up to me and said that same thing. And I was like, I remember that. And I go, I'm not,
Oh,
I changed it.
yeah.
It's kind of my mantra. I'm gonna stick with it.
There's not a
It
lot.
works.
There is talent, but there's not a lot of places to learn.
Agree, for sure.
That's funny you remember it.
Oh,
So we'll
man,
talk
yeah,
about
I think
that,
it's-
like, some other. But yeah.
Why is it they're not making it anymore? So you're still going strong. When's the Juilliard? Retirement date for you?
Boom. Yeah.
He
Then what?
opened up.
Yeah, we've got a couple other companies we do anyway.
I think it was like
So,
in, Amsterdam
we've always done
School of
that.
Ballet.
And then-
So you're kind of hanging off to your son a little bit, right?
You know,
Handed it off
and
to
then
my son and
stayed
son-in-law
in
already.
the,
And now I
you
just
know,
finance them.
The.
So they just borrow money
The dance
and they've
division
got their
every
own
year.
thing. They've got a dozen going right up
It
here.
was an interesting time. I mean, this was like.
Third that I wanted money on.
Okay.
You know.
No, Cascadian.
A lot going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff
And then they've
in that
got
space.
Ivan Edmonds, and then they've got another
But you were on the East Coast.
dozen.
Yeah, I'm from the East Coast, yeah.
Molly
Yeah.
Paris.
Like units, like multifamily?
Yeah, for sure.
So,
It's what's on
I had them switch from detached, or from attached to detached about 2 years ago. Just knowing
Super.
what the market's been doing. I mean,
Such a.
townhomes are getting crushed on price.
Then I didn't.
But I gotta tell you,
I didn't learn modern.
it's the flattest sales in this area of new construction I've seen
I
in
didn't
a long time.
I didn't do any of those.
Yeah, this whole knee-jerk thing, most of those buyers are tech buyers
Yes,
and we're stock.
so like we had a Lamone teacher.
So they're just wandering around on this.
Hey, just doing a quick mic test. If let me know if you at home cannot hear, and we'll make some adjustments. And we'll get going here in just a minute. So, but just let me know if you give me a thumbs up if you can hear it or something like that.
Yeah, the grand.
Yeah.
Well, I will get there.
You talking about?
Mhm.
What's that?
Oh, we will get there.
Well, they'll hear or not.
There's not enough pressure by buyers.
Mhm.
They're all kind of staring at us a little bit, just watching. I know my son,
Rates just increased
Yeah.
today
They did.
because of the tariff issue.
my son was telling me he was gonna just buy everybody's rate down to 5.9. On $1 million, it's about 40 grand.
Mm.
Rather than, it's weird because we tried this buy down option here a couple other times. And then everybody said, no, I'll just take it in the price. And they didn't take the interest rate buy down. So they just took a $40,000 win on the price. But again, those buyers in our market, most are that tech buyer come from the east side
Mm.
or the Asian buyer come from Seattle. And those markets right now are just, people just stand on the sidelines. They're fairly sophisticated buyers. They know, and if their portfolio is down 20%, it'll circle back. It's just, we've got this little gap in time where there's too much insecurity.
Yeah.
Just happens. You know, the thing that shocked me, I ran it the other day and I was telling Brenda, and this isn't a bad news. It's always good news, bad news. If you're an investor, me, you're buying when the market's down. We were hoping pressure on pricing wouldn't force prices down too far, but that would also be just a temporary thing. I just feel like we're in a flux this year, but I looked at sales in 08, 9, and 10, our tough years.
I've been in business 27 years.
There you go.
I'm living the dream.
They're better than now. The amount of sales we had nationwide were higher than they are now.
Hmm.
You know that?
That's painful because that was a really painful time too.
I know.
They did really good in 08 and went and bombed out in 09 and 010.
07 was the
09 and 10.
07 was the transition.
Right. Yeah.
But the weird thing about it was we had crashing prices and I dove in and bought a bunch of stuff in 08, 9, and 10.
Yeah.
But we don't have crashing prices this time. We just have fear and insecurity with buyers and interest rates.
Yeah.
But I don't know that, you can offer the buy down. We'll see if that gets anybody off the fence to snatch something. But yeah, we're just in kind of a weird thing right now because this is supposed to be our hot market, right?
Right.
But I ran our closings last month in March and we were 22 a day in March of 24 and we're 29 a day in March of 25, which is kind of hard to believe.
Is it new construction too? Are you adding? Because you do a
Yeah,
lot.
it's
of new
everything.
construction. Yeah, so you do a lot of new construction
But
too.
the weird thing about it is, like last month, I think I saw 726 resales, but there's still only about 150 or so new construction deals. It's not, like our part of the market up here, we're like 14 or 15% of resale is new construction. That's kind of how we've run notoriously for years. Rest of the country, I mean, we close, close to that. Like when we were closing a little over 4 million a year, we were closing 680,000 resale,
Yeah.
new construction. But the supply market around the rest of the country, about 30% of it, the listings are new construction. But here, it's maybe 15%. And we don't have those huge 2,000 tract subdivisions. So
Nope.
it's a little bit different here and it's not going to change. Should we jump?
Whenever you want to go.
Is this thing on?
It's on. The mic is hot. It might be-
Sorry, guys, you had to listen to that.
And you are
Apologize. Are we good to go?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Fire away.
Thanks, guys. Who all do we have in the room here? Introduce yourselves.
Dale Forney.
Brenda Gill.
From Chicago Title.
Yeah.
Dave Hyatt.
Hillary Britton.
Any Chavis?
Adam Stolfout. And we have Mindy Hibbard and Mitch Livingston online and Larry Miller is online, kind of on and off. Keep bouncing on and off. Tech issues, as is Kevin.
Yeah. And Cream said he was on a plane, so
Cream is flying to California, yes, for something, for a track meet for his kid.
good for him.
So
So let's talk a little bit about what's been going on and what we think is going to go on. And feel free to pop in and make a conversation, guys. It's a really cozy, quaint group today. And so I left, as Dale and I talked, this is going to be the mantra for as many years as I can, whether there's a lot of sales or not. I strongly believe in that. Don't wait to buy, just buy. And find a way to make it work. So, but I wanted to kind of run by a couple of different things. So notoriously in our marketplace, we have been a millennial driven market. That was supposed to be 40% of all of our buyers, but it switched out to our older posse have been our number one buyer and seller. About half of our sellers are baby boomers now, and almost the same amount of baby boomers are as millennials right now are buyers. That means something weird's going on when the baby boomers are as high. But I noticed some other changes that you're going to see, and hopefully we're working on. I spend a lot of time at the state level in the county and the cities advocating for homeownership options. And we've won some battles here in the last couple of years and sponsored a few new ordinances, what we're going to talk about today. So your people kind of understand that you're not just a resale home in a lot of cases anymore. You're actually a development opportunity. And as long as CC&Rs aren't attached to your home. Now, Mill Creek's kind of a bad play out example because almost everything has CC&Rs. But as we get into the unincorporated county, I've got some amendments we did to ordinance, sponsored a couple of them that finally got approved a couple weeks ago. And it's really going to make a big change in the opportunities for small builders, the opportunities for our people that own resale homes to see increased sales prices. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. One of the biggest things I saw that's going to come this decade is, I think by the end of 2030, 42% of all household growth is going to be in single people. And 30% of all households will be single people by the end of this decade. We're just doing stuff different, guys. We buy later, we move out later, unfortunately. We get divorced more often, we marry later. All of those things that are going on to form single households much more often. We had a few projects we did in South County over the last few years, and I was really shocked to see in townhomes. Now, when I sponsored that townhome ordinance in Snohomish County like 10 years ago, we thought, well, actually it was further than that. It was right after the Great Recession, I guess I'd call it, or how about this, the Great Buyer's Opportunity. We'll call it that from now on. Because I can't buy that stuff anymore. Nobody else can. It's too bad. But
broken. He's broken. You broke his mask. Look it. It's broken.
One needs to be muted.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Real life.
I was on a meeting the other day and I had the radio on in the car, and I was on a Snohomish County Tomorrow meeting, which is a board meeting for land use for all the mayors, myself. I'm your citizens representative for Snohomish County, and then county council people and planning directors. And then I was kind of looking at it and I wasn't paying any attention. I'd made a comment and I forgot to take it back on mute. And they listened to Earth, Wind and Fire for probably 10 minutes before I saw me get muted. And so the whole county got to listen to us for a while. I hope there's 70s folks like I was.
Could be worse.
Yeah. So I think we'll see some definite changes. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the bills that are at the House right now that we're still working on that I think are important. One other thing that we're still working on really hard is to try to get insurance companies to gather around stacked condos again. If I were to look in Snohomish County, when's the last time you sold a new construction stacked condo? In your last decade? No. So I think I have one application for a stacked condo in the whole county. And I don't know that I even have one beyond that one, all the way to the Canadian border. So I know I have about 6,000 or 8,000 of them down in King County on the self-insuring national guys, BOSA, Canadians, all that kind of. About half of the applications for condominiums down in King County are with Canadian developers. So you'll see that product still show itself up, but it's the back in the day, way back, that's how I got in the market. You bought a little condo. Or that is the number one product of the silent generation for home buyers, is heading backwards into the stacked condo. And we need to build that product because we're not hitting that price range. And we need to be there again to kind of start the homeownership plan. And so we're hoping that we can do some more condo reform. We've got one more ordinance in front of the state, one more bill in front of the state, and that'll be the third one we've passed in 5 years. And we're hoping that maybe this time it takes the risk away from the home builder so that he doesn't have to worry about getting sued and therefore not lock up his contractor's liability insurance and get him canceled. So stay tuned on that. Here's a great town. I mean, I can go up and down the coast. Anacortes could kill it up there. I mean, they could do 200 of them. I mean, when I go into that town, there's 7 different states of license plates driving around Anacortes. So it's all kinds of different marketplaces. You could do it in Leavenworth. You could do it here. Mill Creek would be a great town for it. Everett's going to become a great town for it. Edmonds, if we could deal with the height, and then down in through Seattle, there's a bunch of marketplaces that could really serve that. So stay tuned. We're going to continue to work on that. Let's bump forward to kind of move. This is kind of a mic dropper in my estimation. Don't worry, I won't thump the mic here. Take a look at this. You can see we've got our 50 states up there and our 51st ones up above. We just haven't made that decision yet. That little political sarcasm for you guys online. And take a look though, the number one state for appreciation in the last 40 years, that's not something that, hey, we had a great year or a great month or a great summer and we outperformed the rest of the marketplace. The closest state for appreciation in the entire country is Oregon. I think it's still a state, isn't it? Is it? Okay. All right. Sorry, little shot at Oregon there. So how do we not show people that we've outperformed and this is a fantastic market to be involved in real estate in? That's my first one. It froze.
Or we'll see. There you go.
There you go. Now, if I was just to pick the last 20 years, now the Seattle marketplace takes in Everett to Seattle to Bellevue to Tacoma. And you can see how we've performed just in the last 20 years around the country against other marketplaces. We 40% outperformed the second place guy. And again, you're going to be my...
You may want to just click it through. Try that.
No.
Okay. Let's see. Well, or I'm gonna do the slide person base. Yeah, click over there.
There
You just tell me. I'll click.
Okay.
I can.
I could do hand puppets.
You can just shadow things.
Good to grab it. So I wanted to show you here just over the last 5 years how some of our segments in our market have performed. But take a look at Mill Creek. And you can see the ups and downs and all overs of spring, summer, everything like that. But our median price in the last 5 years in Mill Creek is $523,000 of appreciation. I feel like you guys should send out a little card with this on it, without your name on it, to all your purchasers of 5 to 8 years ago and just put "you're welcome" with nothing else on there. Just a blank envelope, and show them how well they performed on what you did to put them in a home. Are you with me on that?
That was 5 year.
That's a 5-year appreciation just in Mill Creek on median price. Bothell is the next one over. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Look at Bothell. Now, a lot of that's going to be new construction because this is all the market, but still, It's not all new construction, but you made $950,000. Over in the hood, in Linwood, you made over $250,000 in the last 5 years, so over $50,000 a year sitting in your house. So you paid for your home every month, and more than that, and overappreciated. You truly made money on top of living off your own equity. And 271 for Everett. So we have performed outstanding in our real estate investments besides creating a home for our family.
Right.
You can get that information on Redfin.
Yeah, we call, sorry.
Yeah, we pull Redfins on that. They're our best. You can do 1, 3, and 5 years. I do the 5 year because it's really about that amount used to be the average time we sell. Unfortunately, our median price and median time we're staying in a home now went up over 10 years. Not a good sign for us. But the weird thing about that, when I ran that 3 years ago, the fastest moving demographic group that moved more often than any other group, millennials. I would have never thought that was the truth. 3 years ago, they were moving every 4 years, and their quit rate on their job, I love that quit rate, was 33%. They were quitting, 33% of millennials would quit their job every year.
As owners, they were moving, not.
As owners, they were moving every 4 years, and I never would have guessed that. But and some of the reasons they had said at the time that, hey, I'm not a buyer, just sounded really suspect of why they were still in my basement, of why the idea of you would say, well, I don't know where I want to be yet.
Well, there's no loyalty in there.
I know.
World. It's a very different world than us. Where
Yes.
They don't jam the same way.
Don't live on the
They
same
don't they don't have the same mindset that we do when
Common
we
living.
were raised.
Yeah, common living, communal, a little bit more often. The fastest growing millennial group within the millennial group was unmarried couples as buyers that just go, look, we're not going to get married, but we got to get into real estate. So we're going to buy a home, and we don't want to rent an apartment anymore. So some of those things, but they just have not, because of where the market is right now and interest rates and again, some of the other things. I looked at, there were 8 things that I looked at for millennials as a buyer. And 4 of them over the excuses of why they didn't buy. 4 of those 8 were waiting for the government to do something. Waiting for government underwriting of financing, waiting for government assistance for purchases, I was really surprised that 50%, when I was their age, and a lot of you were their age, you never would have brought that up. There was no expectation of that.
Yeah.
So now with all the insecurity about it, well, man, we're just around the corner. We're going to get rid of student debt. Now we're going to do all those things. I think there's an expectation that says, I don't want to miss out on my opportunity here. So just understand that that group is making decisions differently now. And then they were, and they've sidelined their purchasing unless they're transferring or taking other jobs. But again, their quit rate went back down to about 20% because jobs haven't been as plentiful as they were, and salaries aren't continuing to go up in the tech industry like they were. One more, just to kind of reiterate where we're at. Take a look at where we are going for appreciation on homes. Now, if I bought something in King County and I just put it in a rental pool, or I just stuck it aside and said, here's my 401k, because we're independent contractors, our 401k is how smart we're going to be on our investments. And I would own $1 million home free and clear, and I'd have built $800,000 worth of equity. And here's a great investment tip. I was going to save this for later, but if you bought 2 of those, it would be twice as much. Did you write that down?
I got it down.
Okay, it's right down. Good.
Let's
Thank
go
you.
into the Cahoots.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a math guy. Yeah, big math guy. So there's my theory on real estate right there, and understanding what's going on in the comp plan and watching that the state of Washington is fighting us tooth and nail over every type of expansion every 10 years. So that's why I'm saying that I know that supply will never increase the way you want it to. I know that we're going to have 300,000 people moving here within 22 years, and we're not going to get much of any type of expansion of urban growth boundaries. We're going to put all those people in apartments. And so homeownership's going to get more difficult and more difficult and more difficult. In 1996, 28% of all home equity was in people under 36. You know what it is now? 5%. 5% of all home equity is in people under 36 right now. The equity is in my group. That's where it's all stacked up in. Let's keep moving.
All right. So which one is it? There we go. All right.
Again, we're gonna kill the price part of our world. Take a look at median price of homes in Washington and our wages. So now if you're in our marketplace, your wages are like 112 to 115,000. It doesn't help that you have to make 180 to buy a home, but our median income is dramatically higher. It's one of the highest in the countries besides California. And you can see where we sit on average rent. Obviously, the cheapest, it's funny, the cheapest pretty much stay the cheapest always.
Yeah.
If you've been to West Virginia, you're probably still lost and haven't found your way out. But that's kind of, I've driven through there, guys. Don't take a left or a right. Stay on the main road. You remember Deliverance? Okay, there you go. Next one. So once again, highest rent per city. We're going to be on that one too. And again, with all the new construction, we're one of the top 3 metro markets in the entire country for the number of units we're creating in a multifamily. And we're not that high up in population. We were behind literally just New York and Dallas for the number of apartments we've been building over the last 5 years. Okay. Here's kind of my, okay, why do I buy and not rent? So you can see what the median price of a home is around the country, and the median, what I would call wealth building. There's 50 million people in the country, and the number one wealth builder of the entire middle class is homeownership. And if you think back a generation ago, the number one wealth builder for the entire country was homeownership. That's how that's how they gained their retirements and how they gained wealth. Well, the median, I think now, of wealth of a homeowner is about $340,000. And the median wealth of a renter is $10,000. I don't call it couch wealth. That's kind of what we're looking at here. So anything that I can show you that kind of gives people an idea of, hey, you don't have to be in the stock market. Real estate's going to perform for you year in, year out. And over a long period of time and a short period of time, you're going to win. Right now, we're in a flattening, and it'll stay that way this year. But then what always happens after we have a flat period of real estate, it takes off.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's cyclical.
it just takes off. And when it takes off, you want to be the guy that was waiting for it, because it's too late once it took off. Let's go to the next one.
That's kind of what happened in 2018-19, right? And then all of a sudden 2020, it started before even the pandemic.
I mean, everybody got a helmet when the pandemic was on, and oh no, the world's going to crash and real estate's going to crash.
Yeah.
We probably had our best run we've had since 2005.
Mhm.
We had a great opportunity. I decided not to be the prognosticator, so I just put this up here so you can see what our main people that we follow, what they think is going to happen in the marketplace over this year. And I've been watching it a little more closely. People keep changing what they think that's going to happen this year. And one of the things I've noticed, and we were talking about a little earlier, which I don't want to depress you, but I looked at home sales from 08, 9, and 10. Those of you that are as grizzled as I am, remember that marketplace if you were here. And we were selling homes in that low 4 million range. Well, guys, last year we sold less homes around the country than we did since 1995. And this year we'll do almost the same. We thought we were going to get about a 10% increase in homes that are sold. It might, because of what's going on right now, it might stay close to the same. Now, 26, we're supposed to hopefully get up to about 4.6 million sales again, and we're running right at 4.1. And again, that was what we were selling literally back in 08, 9, and 10. So but again, for every bad year we have a great year. And so it's going to sprint again, and we'll talk about it a little later, but I ran homeowner purchases in the Puget Sound for a 10-year period of time, and I'll show you how many people are actually sitting on the fence that normally would be purchasers, but they're stuck in the interest rate kerfluffle and a little bit of inventory problem. So you're going to see all those people jump back in. It's just get to the end of this and it takes off again. Okay, let's go next one. This is our life occurrence market. We don't like those markets. Repeat after me. We don't like those markets. We don't like the ones that there has to be an excuse to buy besides just an investment opportunity. What I'm going to talk to you about here as soon as we get through some of these stats is everything under these new ordinances is an investment opportunity. With all of these land use changes and these bills we've worked on, create a whole different market for how I view real estate, either as a income producer or just sit and wait for appreciation. You got an automatic bump, an automatic increase in the value of your homes this last year. So this is kind of what happens. We got 3 million marriages over the last 2 years, 1.5 million divorces, 7 million turned 65. So that tells you 10,000 people a day turn 65. And those are obviously our life change sellers and who we've been after. 4 million deaths, 6 million net new jobs, and 50 million job switches. That's the number that's a little bit shocking, is the 50 million job switches. But again, if our quit rate with our millennials is about 1 in 4, there you go. Okay. Oh, these are those stats I was talking about. I didn't want to read through all of them, but you can see the last one, assistance from the government, waiting for the Federal Reserve, waiting to see if the federal government acts affordable housing. There's the cry of the dead. And waiting for a presidential election, affordable housing initiatives. I'm going, come on, you guys. Let's go ahead and just get a job and make some money and invest in a home. Okay, let's get off of that depressing one. And here, just an idea, this gives you an idea how much pent-up demand is out there. This is probably as far as when you do polling, they say that 15% plan on buying a new home in the next 12 months. And those are broken down to like 7 and 8% markets, whether the next 6 months or the next year. So the best year we've had in a little while for the outlook, even though it might not happen, it's just going to double up the following year. Okay. This was something we did. I found this and I wanted to make sure we understood. According to the report, 34% of homeowners will never sell their homes. That's a rough word. Never. I don't think we get those of you that are married know that we don't get to use that. We don't, you husbands out there, never's not the right word. While 27% plan to wait at least 10 years before breaking out the for sale sign. Another 24% plan to sell in 5 to 10 years. And there we are, 8% plan to sell in the next 3 to 5 years, while only 7% plan to sell in the next 3 years. Now, there's about 80 million homes around the country. So that gives you an idea of the people that are planning, not just new construction, but the people that are truly planning to sell their home. Okay. I didn't realize Canada became the #1 foreign buyer, slipping past China and oh, don't worry, I won't say an immigration thing. Don't worry about it. I'll stay away from it. And India. So Canada, for some reason, jumped up above as far as foreign investors go. Okay. This, I want to talk about a few projects in the area. I think we've talked about that. I just sometimes like to keep it as local as I can. The one down in the corner down there, so that's Cathcart Way, that's Highway 9, that's Glacier Peak High School. That was our favorite dump back in the day. And the one on the corner, you've seen the storage facility going up on the corner, and then the 288 townhomes that Pack Ridge is doing. They, as a company, decided to go as affordable as possible. And if you've been through those, vinyl flooring, laminate counters, they took everything they could out of the house to try to hit a price range. Now, what I wanted to show you is the other red lines there. That'll be the largest housing project in the next 20 years, 30 years. In Snohomish County, there'll be 1,066 units there. Over 600 new homes, whether they be townhomes or detached, and 400 apartments. They say, what I'm trying to do is give you an opportunity to think about traffic for a second here. So they say every new home creates 10 trips a day, and every new apartment creates about 6. On top of Amazon and DoorDash and all the other guys that they didn't have when they were doing those road impact statistics. So that corner right there could create somewhere around 10 to 15,000 trips a day on that one corner. So plan on leaving at a different time if you live down there.
It's already a nightmare.
It is, and they're gonna have to do something with the intersection. They just haven't been able to get to that point yet. But by the time they finish this other project, and the county still owns that piece next door, it's commercial and it's 60 acres. So I'm not sure what they're gonna end up doing there. So that'll be the largest housing community that we'll create in our lifetime. Okay.
That's this year, or when is that?
They're not ready on the 1,000. They're gonna phase it, but you've already seen the townhomes get pounded up over there. I think the approval is really close, but I think they're gonna do the housing they're gonna do the homeownership first and then the apartments. That was the plan.
The bigger issue is that our school systems are so horrid out here. I'm from these, that it's gonna impact Glacier Peak so badly in those elementary school and junior highs, because they're gonna be surplus with more portables than you can, because you have to get to that place to get a new school. And the reality is, by the time that the new school is built, because my kids went to North Creek, there's already a portable there.
We
Right, I mean, it's really gobsmacking because there's no preparation in terms of a state level for school systems to function.
be happy you're not up here at Smoky Point. What a horrific name. There's got to be a better name for that market than we just can't. Some guy named Smokey in 1940 had a shop. And he called it Smoky Point, and we've been stuck with Smoky for the rest of our life. But this market here, at least a lot of what you're looking at down in that market is homeownership and not apartments. So this market, I just want to make sure you understand the fastest growing community in the whole state is Smoky Point. And it's been an unbelievable amount of activity up there. This was the old mill coming in the back way from Arlington. It would look like Shawshank Redemption. It was from like the 30s, and it was all rusted out, and it sat a mess forever. And a group out of Bellevue, all of us locals went, oh my gosh, what a mess, that thing, who would ever buy that? Boom, they buy it. And so they buy it, and they fix it up, tear it all down. This was their first phase of tilt ups. They've got, I think, 2 more phases to finish. They turned this to a international investor group for 83 million. It was the largest sale in the first quarter of last year. And so now they're on to their next phases. So we've got Boeing suppliers, tech groups, other manufacturers inside this building. So don't think that the rest of the country doesn't have a pin on the map, and I'll show you some other things, okay? So this is actually the intersection there at Smoky Point. You can see on the left-hand map, those squares are over off the railroad tracks. They're west of the freeway. That's up there where Lakewood High School is with
Oh,
my,
it's off the 45 road.
no, it's off of 172nd. The 45 road is over there. That's the railroad tracks.
Right.
And that's Lakewood High School. You guys should drive by. That's the most gorgeous school.
Yeah.
They just really knocked it out when they did that. But we've got about 3,000 housing units going in there right now. Even across from Lakewood on the other side of the railroad tracks, that wasn't I didn't mean it that way. You know what I mean by it's just, it's
But it
located next to the railroad tracks on the other side. That's over 340 residential new homes, about 180 townhomes and 160 detached homes. Wrapping around the Shell station. How's that? I'll explain it to you that way. And then everything else is just being crowded into oblivion there. So, and over on the other side, on the over by the airport and on the, you know, about 5 years ago, I kept telling people, you need to buy in Glen Eagle. I don't care if it's a sucky golf course. I don't care anything about that. You need to buy in Glen Eagle and Crown Ridge and all those areas up there, because I'm telling you that this place is going to take off. Now there's 10 million square feet of commercial tilt-up buildings in them, either on the market or in permitting, and Bellevue itself only has 9.6. So I hope that gives you kind of an explanation of what kind of growth you're going to get here. That North Point right there, those guys are out of St. Louis. They're a national commercial developer. They are going to build 16 250,000 square foot tilt ups, and 250,000, you know, we throw numbers out there, but that's 3 football fields inside of a concrete building. So that's where Tesla's going. That building's up. That's where Frito-Lay and Pepsi, that's a lot of Fritos. They just rented 300,000 square feet and are moving their distribution center up there. Now, every time I talk about a group, Amazon's open. They still haven't even put their 1,000 people in that building yet for all their employment base. And you can see what's happening because, again, over 3,000 units. One place that we've got to talk about that's going to be a great investment if you're trying to get there before it happens, Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon's 22 minutes away without traffic, and there's not a lot of traffic from this employment base. And they don't have the new housing laws in place yet. They're a smaller county, so they didn't have to meet the comprehensive plan updates by our date. They got an extra year. And they don't have to meet DADU and middle housing laws until 6 months after that. So they still haven't changed their zonings and their housing amendments to add in that type of residential increase. But in the next 5 years, it's going to have to take off because we have 6 pieces of property in Stanwood left that can be single family housing. We've got one large annexation area east of Arlington that they're going to work on. That's about 1,700 homes and apartments, but it's going to take a long time to get it there. And it's complicated. It's steep, it's wet, it's got a lot of things going on. And Marysville, Marysville's Marysville. So let's move on. I had somebody tell me one time, now guys, I live up there, so I get to take a shot at it. And if you grow up in Linwood, you get to make fun of everybody. So here's Maltby. And people have never looked at Maltby as being the next bedroom community, but you notice that yellow, orange line, gold line at the bottom? That is that's the boundary of Woodinville, the city. So we are really close to a mechanized, highly populated, almost 405. This entire area where 75th and Crystal Lake, all the way up to the corner by what is that? Paradise Lake Road. We tried to annex that into the urban growth boundary this last time around. We thought it was going to go. We had Jared Mead, your council member, agree to sponsor 3 annexations into the urban growth boundary. It was vetoed, and we ended up with 1. So when you were talking about Glacier Peak, we had another expansion area that we had sponsored over off Sunset Road, which is the perfect spot to expand. It's flat. Utilities work. It's just pasture-ish open flat land. And the school district has 2 large sites in there that they need to get inside the urban growth boundary to put their schools on it so they can get sewer and other things attached to it. They've got 40 acres over there of the 112 acres we were trying to expand that they shot down. So those are your next 2 school sites, are those 2 sites over on the other side of
So
Sunset
that,
Road.
yeah, because it's sorry to interrupt, because there's the elementary school that's right up the street on
180th.
Sunset, right? Yeah, like on 180th, right? And then, so you're talking about Sunset in between that space?
East of Sunset,
Okay,
east of
Okay.
Sunset, you got north,
so it's almost like behind the new elementary school.
you got North High School.
Yeah,
Right, you had that expansion, but then Everett needs to get those 2 school sites in. And so we're gonna take, by the way, anybody that's up there, we're gonna take another shot at it. We're gonna have the school district, I've got almost those 70 acres, all of the people that want to get in. And they want to get in because if I told you the difference in price, you'd want to get in. And you'd want to move. So we need to get the 40 acres of school sites in, and then we could do another 70 acres of housing, which would work out to be about 500 to 600 new homes on that 70 acres. So this is our new housing community. We just closed the Maltby Cafe and the surrounding property about a month and a half ago. No, it'll stay. The Maltby Cafe is going to stay, but we're going to get about 85 townhomes around the outside of it. And then Lennar is building over off Paradise Lake Road. Lennar is building 190 townhomes. So we'll have almost 300 $900,000 townhomes in Maltby. It's your next bedroom community.
Is Lennar building on both sides of Paradise Lake Road?
It's that one site next by the elementary school. It's that one
Yeah.
big site that Taylor owned. They sold it to a REIT. The REIT couldn't get the 360 apartment units.
Yeah, it's on.
Yeah. So the REIT sold it to Lennar, and Lennar got approval. There needed to be some improvements on the highway and that underpass there that they couldn't get done in a timely fashion, so they finally sold it. Okay, that's kind of some of the new things that are going on, and
Sorry, when is that supposed to be developed?
they're already under.
Oh, you gotta see it.
Yeah, those are, yeah.
That intersection is just a big hole.
So they're already working on that one. We just closed with Westcott on the other one, so they've got to get, they still haven't pulled all their permits and stuff. We forget to talk about Everett, and I think it needs to start getting more notice because the entire downtown area, the 1 square mile in downtown, to meet their housing requirement the last time around, they didn't want to go into all the small areas and communities and have nothing but people upset about growth and get unelected is the best way to put it. So they took the downtown and changed the height of the downtown from 12 stories to 24 stories. So they doubled the height. Just the best explanation, my favorite joke is, there's only 2 buildings that are close to 12 stories there. The one is the Key Bank building on Colby, and the other one's the jail. And they're both full. So that's it. That would be the lowest building that they would allow. They would have to go from 12 to 24 stories. So the smallest building could be, or the highest building would be double the height of the tallest building in town right now. And it's already zoned that way. But if you put up 24 stories, you'd suck everybody out of the whole town into one building. But those buildings are full in downtown. This new one here, you can see where it's located. It's called the Millwright District. It's out there by the whiskey bar, out where the old yacht club was.
The Muse.
Just short of it, and across from Scuttlebutts and the Hotel Indigo. So that's about 260 units. And I forgot how many hundreds of thousands of, there it is, 260 units. We were hoping condos, because God, it'd be great to get a condo project down on the water down there with how many people want to be by their boat and down in that. And if you remember back before the market crashed in 08, we had 400 units going in there. Oh, no, excuse me. We had 600 units go in there. We had 150 earnest money checks, hold deposits. and the market fell apart and we sent them all back to their buyers. They were all from all over the country. So that's a huge project that's going to go in and down there with commercial. And I think it just overnight just kind of bumps the whole area and becomes the promenade walking all the way around. And anyway, every time I bring somebody into town and kind of show them where things are happening, every time you take them down to our waterfront, they go, "What's going on down here? Why haven't you guys done anything with this? You're the only port that I'm aware of that haven't developed their waterfront. What's wrong with you guys?" Well, our locals don't really want to do it. They don't trust it. So it has to be somebody from out of town that has national money. And that's what Lincoln Properties is. They're a huge national. So we'll get there. It's just going to be over a 5-year period, but that's going to be an unbelievable housing sector down there. Again, somebody's going to put that first condo project in and make a killing, and then it's going to take off. Okay. So let's talk about the land use changes. I would show you a little bit like, although that's the largest pleasure craft port in the West Coast. Did you know that? Everett's the largest pleasure craft. I got that word right. Last time we did this talk, I said pleasure port, and that was don't go looking for pleasure in the port. Pleasure craft. So, and they're going to add some additional stalls as well. This is a map we're working off of. So let's forget about some of those outlying areas. Let's just talk about our world, Snohomish, King, Pierce. So we had to, all of our cities and our counties had to have their 10-year comprehensive plan update into the state for sign off and approval. We had a number of community meetings and community hearings and everything else. But what we have to do is every 10 years, the state sends every city and every county their population projections for the next 20 years. And then they have to look at all their existing zoning and say, okay, if all of those people showed up right now, do I have enough zoning to house all these people? And so they have to go through their entire comp plan and they have to update, increase their zoning to match a population increase of 20 years. Do you automatically get a free win out of that? You bet. You doubled up on your density in half of the air residential areas. And unfortunately, a lot of the communities have been just going straight high density to take care of it. The city of Mill Creek, they couldn't do it. So they went over to South Mill Creek, Starbucks area. Is it Albertson still? Albertsons, that whole area. And they added 2,400 housing units into that area. So in other words, it could go mixed use. Go apartments above all the commercial. So the first floor is still going to have to stay commercial. Then they would put apartments above that. They didn't do anything for homeownership. It was purely, we're going to meet our quota for growth and we're going to do it with apartments. We're not going to try to give anybody a homeownership opportunity. That sucks. Okay. So here's what happened. So Everett's still behind. Everett still hasn't gotten theirs in, which is kind of surprising because they've been super efficient with us and we've got every ordinance passed through them and we use them as kind of our poster child for how it will work in the future. So now the two housing laws, the DADU and the middle housing, we have until July 1st of this year to have our cities and our county put those in place. But I got the DADU one done early. I sponsored an amendment a couple of weeks ago that the council heard and approved. And we kind of wiggled a couple things in there this time that are really going to benefit us for advancement of homeownership options. And I'll show you those because the way we wrote it, honestly, we wrote it in a way that FutureWise will not sue us. And FutureWise is an ecological watch group that every time we do something to try to help us for housing supply, they come after us. And this time they didn't come after us. So I think it's obviously in the way it was done. So, okay, let's flip to the next one. You can tell that the smaller counties and things, they get an extra year and then an extra 2 years. So what I wanted to show you was, this is what happened at the beginning of the year when we submitted our comp plan. By the way, last week, it was finally approved and signed off. We have 2 appeals filed. by the same guy that appeals everything in Snohomish County, and he does it all the time. And so we think those are going to get thrown out. We're going to take them to court in the first week of May and get those thrown out by the state court. And so then it is stamped, approved, expanded, done. Everything will be the zone. Now, this time you get a rezone. You don't just get a comp plan amendment, you actually get your property rezoned. So the minute this appeal goes away, first weekend, well, you get 2 weeks after they thrown him out, by mid-May, everything will be locked in stone. So I want to show you a few areas. You see Mill Creek, you see on the right-hand side, you see the I-5 symbol. You can see where Martha Lake is. It's the teardrop shaped blue thing.
Yeah, I live there.
There you go. So look over at the map on the left. It's all pink right now. We had them amended and added that to medium density. So the area on the right that's pink was 4 to 6 units an acre. Everybody in that entire area just doubled their density and probably made $1 million an acre. You with me? So we went from 4 to 6 to 6 to 12. 6 to 12, 4 to 6 is single family housing, about 5 lots per acre. 6 to 12 means I can get about 8 or 9 3-story skinnies on an acre. I can get about 7 2-story 30 by 45 detached condos. Still with me? And then I can get 12 to 20 townhomes per acre. But since I'm maxed out at 12, I get 12. On the other one, I was going to get 5 single family lots or 6 townhomes. So I hope you see that everybody here just got a huge windfall. Their 401k just came home. And then down below where 405 and I-5 meet, you see that triangle there? That went from 4 to 6. We changed that all out. If you drop the arrow down a little bit, down into the gap there, right there. We changed that out to 6 to 12. And then go all the way over to the right there. So that area is over by Jewel Road, Maltby Road. That's 288 acres. This is the only expansion of the urban growth boundary since 1996. That's the first one. Does that give you an idea how hard it is to get the county and the state to agree and allow us to live in a little bit wider space? Our fight has been almost every year, knock it off. Quit telling us to live like Seattle. But the people that run the Puget Sound Regional Council keep coming back to us and saying, hey, tough. I mean, I've even said it in our Snohomish County Tomorrow meetings. I go, hey, people didn't come up here to live like that. That's not why we're here. And we're doing nothing for homeownership by stacking an entire generation in apartments. We need homeownership options, which we'll talk about in a minute. And actually, he even said to me one time, he goes, well, Mike, you're just going to have to live different. And I thought, gosh, what an arrogant statement by a guy that we're trying to explain why we don't want to do this. But this is the first expansion. It went from 5-acre zoning to 6 to 12 units an acre. And here's my best example. I closed a couple 5-acre lots over in that area for $800 and $1 million. Like they had mobiles on them and guys were going to tear them down and build on them. Where our home builders, our nationals, are now tying that up between $5 and $6 million for 5 acres. Do you see how you hit the lotto if you got your expansion done? And you can see the other area. See that blue hashed area up above that? That was the other expansion area that I talked to you about that was 112 acres. But again, we're going to come back on the docket once a year. We're going to pound on the county and get that 40 acres of the school district and another 70 acres of those homeowners. Just give us a year or so. And we just have to prove that we still need that acreage, which I think we have a good argument. The county says no. County says we have 16 years worth of land supply left for our population just inside these lines. You think it's realistic? It's not even close to realistic, because you can see over here, actually, probably the fastest expansion area over on my left-hand map. I've got that red area from North Linwood all the way up to South Everett. You see that big slice there? I kind of jokingly say, right now, that's my spot that If I go stop there, I can get a massage, some pot, and an RV in the same spot. That's my. Now tell me that's not true. Tell me when you drive by, that's not what you get. So for about a 2 mile stretch, guys, that's going to be all high density apartments and townhomes. It's all going that route because those are our last sites we can get to. And so you'll get rid of those, you'll get rid of those junkyards, all those old RV
Nice.
spots and things, and you'll go to a higher density. That's the win that everybody just got. They're going to sign off on this map, like I said, within the month. They were supposed to be at the beginning of April, but we're going to get rid of those appeals. And know that we did this, every city did it too. Every city did it, every county had to do it, and everybody, not everybody, but most people got a win, and a big win when it came to what their properties were.
Are you talking, my just question, so the Jewel York?
Yeah.
You're talking about all that building that's happening across from Fernwood, is that correct?
That's already done.
Yeah, that's already done.
What that was inside the line.
Okay,
It expanded so that,
So-
you know, the main view stuff?
yeah,
Okay, their boundary on their east side was the boundary of the urban growth boundary. Now it expands out to not 51st, but it goes out to the power lines.
okay,
So we got 288 acres in there at medium density.
Wow.
that's crazy.
Yeah, so
I
the
know some
people that I,
Sold the house there for 2.9 million, that's right down this, that, you know,
I've got-
one acreage,
I
but
got 4 people
Nice.
together that are all 2.5 acres, and they're getting about 2.5 million per. And it's not gorgeous houses or anything. It's just 2.5 million for their 2.5 acres for all 10. Here's what I wanted to talk to you about for dad use. And again, how we doing? What's our time?
In that.
Okay, we'll get it done. Here's what we're going to do. This is a standard plan for Everett. This is our new DADU law, and we're going to talk a little bit about it, but I wanted to start by showing you how the site plan is going to work. So you can see we get 2 units per residential lot automatically under the new law. And all the cities have to pass it. Okay. All the cities have to have the DADU ordinance if they practice growth management, and they're still practicing it, but they're figuring it out. So you have to create 2 parking spots for the existing house if it doesn't have a curb cut in the front for a driveway. So this would be a standard plan. That unit right there, each one of those duplexes is 1,000 square feet, and it has a 1-car garage. So 1 bedroom down, 1 bath down. You enter from the back of the unit, and then upstairs you're going to be about 15 by 40. So you have about 600 up and 300 and some down. We think you need a 1-car garage. Seattle doesn't always do garages for this stuff, but even Seattle's 3-pack has to change now because under the new law, you get 2 attached, 2 detached, 1 of each, whatever, as long as CCNRs don't stop it. And we'll go through that list. But this gives you an idea. So in Everett, we have an amendment. So Everett was on board with us really early. We got to them early, and this has been going on for over a year. We have 70 permits on already this year. And I probably look at 4 to 5 North Everett properties every week that people are asking, okay, what can I fit on here? And I'm going to list this, or I'm looking at buying this or whatever. I think our standard price for those old homes is somewhere in that $5 to $550 range. And we'll work on the math a little later. But we're working on 2 amendments in the city right now. One of them is to go from 28 feet in height up to 35 feet. At 28 feet, we kind of screwed it up a little bit there, but then again, they weren't really loving on us when it came to height because they didn't want the single family home to be shorter than the dadus in the back. So we are asking them to give us 35 feet so we can get a 3-story. So I can get a 1-car garage as soon as they approve the 35 feet. I can get a duplex, 1,000 square feet on each side, with a 1-car garage. I can get it on a 30 by 40 footprint. Does that make sense? No, excuse me. 30 by 20 footprint on either one. You can just squeeze it right on there. We have to have, well, here, let me just put it this way. I can do it on half of that. I can just cut this in half and do a 3-story. That's how small of a footprint I can fit 1,000 square feet on. I know it's hard to believe, but we're on that program right there. That one, I can get 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a small kitchen, dining, living area. We can get it done on that 40-foot footprint. But the idea is the smaller the footprint, the better. There's a couple things they've missed, and we'll catch up with them on that. I think they overestimate our willingness of our average citizens to build something nice. They've kind of overshot the bar there. They need to put some CCNRs on here. You're going to end up with 1 door, 1 window, and vinyl siding. We need to probably help them get a little bit better. But almost all 70 of those. I had one guy that was pressing on me for probably a year and a half, and he had 12 rentals in Everett. And so finally we got the ordinance approved, and he got 24 additional units on his existing rental properties the day we recorded it. So what you do is you put a 3-unit condo. Follow me on that? The existing house is unit 1. Then there's a line behind the house about 5 feet off. Then there's another line in between the party wall for the 2 units. And so then it becomes a duplex, but it becomes unit 1 and unit 2 of the condo. And then the existing house would be like unit 3. The way we set it up is even better for people that want to become paper developers. Let's say I run in and I go find there's a lot of the people in North Everett that they've been there for 50 years and they cannot move. They need to age in home. They can't afford to sell and go live in a retirement facility at $8,000 a month or whatever it is now. So they can keep their home. They're probably tight on bills as it is. They could keep their home. Their alley turns out to be just a falling down carport and a bunch of grass and some garbage cans and a couple of guys selling crack. So then what we do here is we say, hey, keep in your house. I'll give you, pick a number, $80,000 for your backyard and your carport. And I'll record a condominium. Keep your house. I don't want to buy it. Then as soon as I record the 3-unit condo, which is no land use, you guys, that's what we were trying to do, get everything away from land use. So all it is a building permit for the duplex and a condominium recorded, which they don't even care about the condo. They don't oversee condo law. The state does. So the only thing you're getting from the city is sewer and water connections. You get your PUD connected and you get a building permit for the duplex. It has to be 50 feet wide to fit the duplex in there because you got to get the 2 tandem parking spots for the existing residents. So let's say that I do what I just said, and all I want to do is buy your backyard. I don't want the pig in the front. I don't want to fix it up. I don't want to go through all of that crap. I don't want to paint it, landscape it, strip the inside, take out all the stuff that didn't get permitted and start over again. I just want to buy those 2 lots in the back. I could actually flip them. It costs about $8,500 to do all the work to put your condo together and do your condo declarations and your survey and all that. And I could flip it for $150. And all I did was some paperwork. And the city did not have to oversee anything I did. You with me?
Mhm.
I just got to stay 14 feet away from the power lines. Probably I should stay 10 feet away from the back of the house, and I have to be able to fit my units in there. And we've got surveyors, planners, attorneys all lined up. They know exactly how to do it. Does that make sense? This was a fast way to create new home ownership because you're going to sell those units, and we already are selling them, and I'll show you some other ones. Go ahead. This is what we were doing in Kirkland. You see that top one there that's attached by that breezeway? Under Kirkland's ordinance that they have until they update their new one, and again, everybody has to have it in place by July 1st. Remember, they have to have middle housing if they qualify for middle housing, and they have to have the DADU ordinance, which they all qualify for. So this little 1,000 square footer on the right-hand side sold for $1.2 million. And then the new construction house sold for 2.8 or whatever it was. So that was the old ordinance. They're still doing some of those, but under the new ordinance, I can now get a new house and 2 DADUs or attached, detached, however you want to do them. okay, next
So
one.
that, are you saying, because I'm familiar with like Kirkland, Roseville area,
Yeah.
they're taking a lot of those old 3-1 Ramblers and they're blowing them up, putting a primary that might be 3,500 square feet, and then the two added,
Take a look.
Yeah.
So this is one that was just done. The front one on the right is attached. That is the new home on the left. And then that's the detached accessory dwelling unit in the back.
Mhm.
With me?
Yeah.
So that's the way they're set up now. Now, under the new ordinance, I can do 2 detached, like I showed you, and make it a duplex, have my residence. Most people that are buying 2.8 don't want to be attached to somebody. So now we can go with 2 detached together, my single family home. So if I was doing this one, I'd put my 2 in the back and then just put a driveway along the side, fence it off, and give my residence its own area in the front. We found that people just, the weird thing is yards are a thing of the past.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like people even care anymore. 10 feet, that 10 feet's fine. I mean, I don't know how many people even have swing sets in the backyard. We used to, on those detached condos, we had the swing set test where, you know, your kid hit the house, hit the fence, hit the house, hit the fence. So if you couldn't turn it sideways and go this way, that was a big yard if you could turn it this way. But now they don't care anymore. Okay, let's jump forward. This is, if you want to take a look at what a bunch of dadoos look like, they had a contest in Seattle where they said, hey, we're going to pre-approve 10 plans. So you could come in and just buy the plan, give us your permit, pay the architect for the pre-approved plan, get a site plan done. So how you show us where you're going to fit it on, and there's no approval process. You buy the plan, give us the site plan, pay the architect, here's your permit. To kind of just get you going down the road really quickly. Look, you can Google Seattle dadoos and it'll pop up. All 50 of the applications and their pictures are in there. If you want to see what kind of what Seattle came up with the ideas that they would have of how they put dadoos in there. Okay. This is one that we had a client that I was telling him about the ordinance. I said, look, man, and this guy, just a hardworking dude. Pavel is a cider and then is doing it. So now he's got 12 dadoos in the system right now. But take a look at this drawing. He had this weird BLA thing that was in this triangle. It's over off 100th and Dakota. It's kind of in the Bermuda Triangle of Snohomish County, you know, where Airport Road and Evergreen Way go like this. What is that? They're building the Dix Drive-In across the street. Used to be La Palmera. You just go up a little further to 100th and go over. There's 2 mobile home parks across the street from it. And what he did was he had a bunch of extra property. And I said, geez, you already have the lots. You have too much property. Why don't you just throw some condos on the back, because you don't have to do a short plat for a condo. You just record the condo. Does that make sense? You don't have to do a boundary line adjustment or anything. You can take any lot and do a condo in Everett, as long as it's residential. So he took that extra piece in the back, put a little driveway, and that's not really sexy right there. That's not sexy at all. That sold for $599. It cost him $275,000 to build it, and it was on free land that he had left over. So he ran a couple of utilities in down that driveway for sewer, water, and that's about it. Splash blocked the other stuff. And he made another $500,000 off of these 2 little residences. If you want to drive by, you can take a look at them. They're both up in the air. So the first one at $575 and the second one at $599. And that's about where we think these things are going to sell, somewhere between 500 and 600, depending on if they're detached, standing alone like that, or whether they're a duplex. We think the ones in Everett that are attached are probably going to sell for more like 500. Downtown, walkable to everything. Okay. This is what a 3-pack used to look like in Seattle. These are the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them they've built so far. The way the ordinance was written before was you can build the principal residence, build 1 detached residence, and build an attached residence to the principal residence, and we'd give you a 3-pack. And I can't tell you how many of your brethren do this full-time for a living now. They don't do real estate anymore. They found one of these, they went to Blueprint Capital or one of those guys down in Seattle, and they became home builders, and then they go knock on doors around it. I wanted to go get my next one. So they just stay in the same neighborhood and work their way down the street. Okay. So those right there, the small ones are about $1,000 a foot. So a 650 square foot one that I was showing you is probably 650, 850 square feet, it's about 850. You can make money at it. This is, I jokingly say on this one, it's the map of the city of Everett, so it looks like a crime scene map. So, but not really. It's all the lots that qualify to build two dadoos on. There's like 6,000 of them. So there's a lot of it. And remember, some of these probably have CCNRs. We don't know that for sure. But everything up north, the two best areas we still think, although there's random spots all over the place, is that Pinehurst area just down south of the country club to the southeast of the country club, because there's just a lot of bigger lots and a lot of really quiet neighborhoods. And it doesn't have the connotation North Everett has attached to it. And there's just easier stuff to find. Then if you go all the way up, which is a little scary for most people, east of Broadway, about 2 blocks, don't go close to Broadway, about 2 blocks east of Broadway, between 15th and 25th, all the way to Riverside. That's a huge area of transition type, smaller, maybe not completely rehabbed up like all the stuff next to the hospital. Everybody's gone in and fixed all that stuff up into their craftsman style. You're probably not going to be able to pick those off because they want too much for them now, or they love their house, they work at the hospital, and they're not going anywhere. But remember, in Everett, you can just do the condo. They can keep the house. I'll just give you X amount of dollars for the backyard. We figure about $75,000 aside would still make you money, as long as somebody else did the work for you. That's what we think kind of the price could be. Okay. Here's the way the bill was written, and I'll just skip through this fairly quickly. Starting with a white dot, this act only applies in portions, towns, and cities, counties that are within the urban growth areas, supersedes any local development regulations. And go. This is actually the way the law is written. Okay. Takes effect 6 months after the periodic growth update, correct? So that was January 1. So they have to have these in place by July 1st. And some of them already do, like again, we went to a couple cities we knew we had some push with and said, hey, we want you to get this done early. Why don't you guys be the front runner on this? Condo applicable. That was a really expensive 2 words. That took a year or two to get negotiated. I never saw the reasoning to just do those mother-in-law ones in your backyard. I mean, I don't want my kids moving from my basement to my backyard. They need to other lot. And so that didn't make any sense. You weren't going to get very much play, and they were expensive enough to build it. It wasn't even really a great idea to rent because it cost too much to build them anyway. But we could create, now how much new construction can you find in Snohomish County that's at 500? None. So we were thinking, okay, you got the Navy coming into town, or it's advancing into town, because the Navy's going to put 5,000 Navy personnel there, which means that we're going to get another 10,000 people. Now, they already have a bunch of Navy personnel there with those destroyers that are coming and going, but they're going to swap that group out, swap another group in, and then we'll have the expansion of services and other things there that are going to need to be in the downtown area. Now, we're doubling down on apartments in Everett too, but that's expensive rent. You should be able to buy something for 500. It fits the starter, it fits the move down person, and there's a whole bunch of city, county, and state employees up in Everett that are at retirement age, and they don't necessarily want to go live in the country. They want to stay next to services, and a lot of them have been renting apartments. They're single. And this could be an ownership avenue for them for like $500,000 and live in the same neighborhood. So at 75, they have a bunch of equity when they decide to move on. But you can see what's going on here. So it legalizes ADUs for existing structures that are non-conforming. So in other words, if you have an ADU that's non-conforming, that's illegal right now, you can go in and get it updated, get the building permit updated and actually get a legal ADU, that you get condo. Minimum ADU size. So in Snohomish County, we got them up to 1,200 square feet, and we're gonna talk about that in a second. But otherwise, you have to, minimum is 1,000 square feet. You can go higher, you can't go lower. And most people are at 1,000. Again, existing CCNRs apply. If it says it's limited to one structure or whatever, you're not gonna change that. We're not gonna fight it. The other thing that was a change that's kind of landmark, no subdivision in the future will ever say limited to one structure. It can never say any of that anymore. They changed the state law now that says that you can't limit your lots to one structure and you can't put that restriction on them. You have to allow for multiple units on a single family lot.
Statewide or just all the
Statewide.
say that?
Statewide. So I've got a couple guys up north that already have pulled their applications back, waiting for cities to approve this, because they're gonna come back in and they're gonna do an alley plat. They're gonna put a house in the front and a dadu off the alley. And double. The one guy had 60 lots, he's gonna get 120 units. Not a bad play, because the other unit is gonna sell at a much less price. So we're gonna hit a price range that works. And again, with people not wanting big backyards anymore, literally, I'm just gonna put a fence 10 feet off the back of my house. The other person's gonna access off the alley. It'll be their parking. We're not even gonna see each other than top floors. Okay. So here's what we used to do, and I helped a bunch of your brethren do these around town because they were really money makers. We passed an ordinance here about 4 years ago in Snohomish County that any residential lot in the unincorporated county inside the urban growth boundary, I can do a duplex. So no longer was a single family lot a single family house. It was now a duplex. And I was helping guys condo them. So in other words, if I had to pay 300,000, well, a good example up here by Myrtle Lake, one of your guys that was a broker, he bought a lot, and then he built these two houses from up above in the driveway. It looks like two houses because they tucked it back, put landscaping in the middle, and just attached a portion in the middle. And sold, I can't remember what he sold them for, but he made $250,000 aside. He made $500,000 off one lot, no land use. Remember? He's just getting a building permit for a duplex, which is a single family permit, and he recorded a condo. So we had our surveyor and our attorney and everybody draw all this stuff up for him, record him. I gave him a guy to do the fee build, would build it for him. And then he sold them to two brothers. Actually, that story's kind of funny. The one brother bought, then the other brother came in to buy and said, I need to be $5,000 lower. And he said, well, I can't do that. I can't do that to your brother. He goes, no. Just make the purchase price $5,000 lower. I'll give you 5 or 10 grand in cash. I just want to be able to show my brother I got a better deal than he did. So he paid in cash to show on the deed that he got $5,000 less than he did. So for the rest of their lives, he can always say, I got a better deal than you did. Go to the next one. This is the pending amendments I want to talk to you about. This is a bigger deal than people realize. And now this took 2 years. So don't worry, it's a lot of wordsmith, but we'll go real quick. The new ADU configurations in urban zones. So inside those urban growth boundaries that we were talking about, like Sunset Road, 45th, where it's 5 acres on the other side of the street and it's somewhere between 4 to 12 units an acre on the other side. On our side. Okay. So inside those areas, single family units can have 2 accessory units that can be either attached or detached. Duplexes can have 2 ADUs that can be either attached or detached. So think about this for a second. So we went from a single family lot at $300,000 that now I can now put a duplex on it, 2 1,900 square foot per side, 2-car garages. Now I can put 2 more detached 1,200 square foot units in the back with 2-car garages and all of it, and do a 4-unit condo. So one single family residential lot in Snohomish County, I can now have 4 profit centers with no land use. I just have to hook up sewer and water, and I have to record my condominium and get 2 building permits. No land use, no short plat, no zoning change, nothing. I can get all that done in 6 months. I'm in the ground in 6 months. I'm out of the project in 15 months. That's a big deal. We need to turn money inside of a year. So everything I was working on was related to just getting building permits. Guys are gonna make a bunch of money off of this because we got the county up to 1,200 square feet, not 1,000. And we got the duplex ordinance approved. So now one single family lot becomes 4. And when you're looking at land or how you're gonna price it, you're gonna have to end up pricing it differently if your seller wants to list. Does that make sense?
I have a question. Ryan.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of those properties in unincorporated Snohomish County, they're still on septic.
Mhm.
So can't access to sewer to do this, but I mean, I want this going on the market tomorrow.
So if you're,
0.69 acres.
so if you're within X amount of feet of existing sewer, they can allow you a deviation or a variance from the sewer department and allow you to put septic on there. Does that make sense?
If you're at greater distance.
Yeah, if you're a greater distance, then pick a number. It's like Silver Lake and Alderwood have a different amount. Most have, most have water, some don't, but a lot don't have sewer yet. And sewer is probably not available. And if it's not reasonably available, you should be able to get a variance. And if you have enough room to put your septics and your reserve areas, then you can go ahead and do it.
So tagging on to that. Using septic versus sewer.
But it needs to be inside the urban growth boundary.
Right, but let's say water, so instead of city water, we have a well. Are we still okay?
You still have to go through a process. You don't want to do a Class B water system. You don't want to set up a corporation. The concern I have for those is always the same. You have to have you can do a 2-party well, right? They have that agreement that you can do. The state allows you to put 2 houses on one well with a well share agreement, but you can't put your drain fields inside the 100-foot concentric circle. You can put the residence and you can put a septic tank and things like that, but you can't put the drain field inside the concentric circle. It has to be outside. So normally on a property like that, you gotta find some place to put this stuff.
There's
You
no
can't
way.
get it to
It's-
fit.
They're with Cross Valley Water District.
Yeah.
So they don't have that issue, but it's actually prime because it's unincorporated. It is actually Woodinville in Snohomish County, right off of Maltby Road. And
Is it
Maltby
in the
Road
city?
West, it's, no, it's Maltby Road and west of Highway 9. So like right down the
What's the
street.
zoning?
I could find out.
If it's in the R5 zone, I've got something else they can do on it. But if it's in the R5 zone, we've got another thing. This one would have to be inside the urban growth boundary. It sounds like it's outside the urban growth boundary. It sounds like it's in
No,
R5.
it's 0.69 acres.
But it's, yeah, but well, I'm gonna remember that. What we ended up doing is something else that we gotta keep our eye on. If you're ever gonna sell raw land, always have us take a look for a lot status number. Because we need to make sure that it actually has legal lot status so that it's buildable. A lot of people have kind of just sold off pieces over the year and tried to resell them, but they're not buildable unless they were either were done with a short plat or they were sold before 1972 and portioned off. So know that that's kind of the next thing is to get a building permit, you need to either have a lot status number or go do the lot status application. So we'll do we have a hard copy title plan. We're the last one in Snohomish County. Every document recorded is in our basement. So we dig down into the basement and we'll find a deed before 1972. We'll hand it to the property owner. They fill out the application for $125. The county gives them an LS number, writes it in their land use book, and then you're set. They can go in and get a building permit on it as long as they can get water and septic and PUD.
It's unincorporated.
Yeah, but it just,
Too far east. When you start getting closer to.
wait a minute. So does that make sense? So now we've gone from a single family lot inside the urban growth boundary to now I can put 4 units on it and do a condo with just a building permit. Now, guys, builders are gonna make a bunch of money off this because I gotta get 4 profit centers. If I buy a $300,000 lot and build a single house, I'm gonna have to be $1.6 million to $1.8 million. It just doesn't work because of all the utilities and things I have to do. But now I can put 4 units on it. I got 2 that are 1,200, 2 that are 1,900, and I can hit a completely different price range with my 4. That was the whole reasoning for it. Incentives for the new configured higher lot coverage. We're going to go up to 55% lot coverage. So you can cover 55% of the lot with structures. It used to be 35%. And 55%, I'll show you a map here. That was what we did. Removal of the under same ownership language in our existing zoning, or excuse me, our existing ordinance. That's what we did to keep FutureWise off our back. We didn't add in there additional detached dadu. We just took under same ownership, because the old ordinance used to say the dadu owner and the dadu owner and the house owner had to be the same person. So you couldn't separate by a condo. And so we took that sentence out, so it automatically made it that way for the future. Let's jump on to the next one.
This is pending. When's it supposed to be?
It's done now.
Oh, that was all done.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. I wanted to give you kind of an example of what I'm talking about here. The one on the left is already approved. You see that? I've got a duplex and I've got 2 detached dadus off the back. It doesn't take a private road. It's just a 10-foot driveway. And remember, all of those are just under a building permit, no short plat, no rezone, no land use. Look, see the one on the right over here? This is the one I'm a little more excited about, but I'm pressing the envelope on. So I'm going to amend the one on the left one more time. I'm going to go in and I told them I should get 2 dadus per side of the duplex, because it should be 2 dadus per residence, right? So in May, I'm going to have them amend it so that now we're going to get 6 units on one single family lot. How do you not? Well, here's a better way to look at this. I don't want to be a builder. I don't want to build units. I don't want to be a developer. Okay. Just have your surveyor and your condo attorney record the condo map, find out if sewer and water are available, and sell it to a builder recorded already. I can tell you right now, if I bought that lot right there on the right and I recorded a 6-unit condo, that's only a 9,600 square foot lot. That's 80 feet wide, 120 feet deep. I still meet the 55% quota because it doesn't count driveways. It's just that. If I bought that for 300,000, I promise you I can spin that for 600. And sell it to a developer with if I had my sewer and water plans already approved and if they were just right in the front in the road. I can make money being a paper developer again. Does that make sense? And when you're working these sites, understand that, wait a minute, I'm not a single family lot anymore. Right now, under the present ordinance, I'm not a single family lot, I'm 4. When I get the amendment done, I'm going to be 6. That's how you make money.
And
And
that's,
that's-
those are all minimum 1,000 square foot.
Those are 1,200.
Did you have to have it 1,200 and you moved it up?
In for the county or 1,200. The other thing is in the county, I can be 35 feet high. And I can do 3-story townhomes. So those can each be 3-story and stack 2-car garages underneath.
So you put the 2-car garage and then have the living space up above.
The living space in the middle, bedrooms on the third.
Within where? What county?
This is.
This is unincorporated Snohomish County inside the urban growth boundary. I got one more. Okay, let's go one more. I got one more and then we'll talk about this and I'll get you guys out of here. So we also got the rural. We're the only one in the state now that has a rural dadu ordinance. There's one going on at the state level right now that they're trying to get a rural dadu ordinance approved over the whole state so people can build dadus in the rural area. Because the Puget Sound Regional Council came back to us when we were doing our 20-year growth plan, trying to figure out where population was going to land. And they came back and told us, you guys are going to get 300,000 people living here. And I know, great. And they said, but only 4.5% get to live in the rural area. So 95.5% of those 300,000 people have to land inside of the urban growth boundaries. Can you imagine? Everything's gonna be an apartment building.
Gonna be built tall.
Everything. That's 287,000 people that are gonna end up living in the existing area that we already have. And they told us only 13,000 people can live in the 90% of the real estate in the Snohomish County. And we know it's nuts. So we've got to do a bunch of small little things to poke them in the eye. So they didn't know what we did on the other one. So in a rural area, if you're in the R5, R10, whatever zone, if you have 200,000 square feet, you can now build a regular residence, a 1,200 square foot Rambler, 3-car garage, 3-bedroom, and condo that off on 1 acre. Do a 2-party well, 2 septics, and hook up POD, and you can just record the condo map that has a 4-acre lot and a 1-acre lot. So now you can virtually do a 2-lot short plat on 5 acres in the R5 zone. So now I buy a $300,000 5-acre lot in Cathcart. I put 200,000 towards the existing house. I put the new residence. I put 100,000 of it towards the dadu. I've done the math. You can make between $500,000 and $600,000, and you can hit a lower price range down here on the 1,200, and you can build. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's 2 acres, 4 acres, or 5 acres. It sells the same. People don't care. I can hit that million. I don't know. What do you think? Is it 500 is it 500 a square foot? If I did 3,000 square feet, would it be $1.5 million for new construction out there probably, or more?
More.
So on that one, I can make about 400, and on this one, I can make about 250. So now I can make 650, and I get 2 profit centers off 1 5-acre lot. You can't screw that one up.
No, but here's the other flip side of this, that this can also be an opportunity to be a compound for families. Right, because now you have multi-generational, you have now like my elderly parents, and I have sons that are growing up and they're gonna want their own thing, and they maybe want to be on the compound. And now you have that versus built-in casita or whatever's next step. If you wanna be
1,200 square
close to-
foot Rambler is perfect for your parents.
Yeah.
Stuck in RV garage out there. Most people don't really want much more than an acre. They only use a 1/2 acre anyway.
Right,
And 4 and 5, it all sells for the same. But what I was trying to do is get more small builders back in the game. So now a small builder can go buy a over 200,000 square foot lot, spend $8,500 putting together a 2-lot condo, get 2 septics approved, hook up his PUD, and he's down the road, put his well in, and he's down the road. And it might be on Cross Valley.
Right.
And it might be, so it might even be on PUD water.
Okay, so in Island County,
No.
Camino.
Yeah.
No.
We won't get there for a while. We're trying to get there, but Island County is one of those.
one way out.
It's a tough one.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't care if you're on
Right.
Whidbey and Camino, you got one bridge, man.
Mhm.
Just the Russians don't attack. So they're on all of this, they're at a different time frame. They're a smaller county.
Right.
So they have another year to work on it. Now, remember, we had a lot of push. We've got 100 ordinances in a row approved by the Snohomish County Council because we have 4 or 5 votes on everything. So we can get this stuff done here. And what we're trying to do is say, like, we have a lot splitting bill now. That think about this in Snohomish County. You still have to do now those 4-unit and 6-unit sites I just showed you, no frontage improvements. There's no land use. The 6, I'm going to get approved by the end of the summer. The 4, you don't have to put any sidewalks in, any road widening. You don't have to do anything other than get a building permit. Tell me that's not cool.
That's crazy.
So that's $125,000 you don't have to spend. All you have to do is get sewer and water. If I was a builder, I'd be chasing those lots and knocking on doors right now, because the worst thing I could do is go record a 4-unit condo and sell it off to my buddies and go, look, man, I bought this and I want to sell it to you. I could sell the 4-unit condo thing. I can sell it for $450. I might pay $300, maybe. And the 6-unit, like I said, I still think I can get to 600 on that because it's a 6-unit recorded condo project. All he has to do is go to the county and get his building permit. And then do his sewer and water extension. sorry to spend so much time on this, but I want to make sure this is where we're going. And we have got to get away from 2-lot short plats that take 2.5 years to get approved. So we've got a lot splitting bill at the state right now. We've also got it at Snohomish County, and we've also got it at the city of Everett. We're going to get it approved at the city of Everett. We're going to get it approved at Snohomish County. We might fail at the state. But if it fails at the state, if they approve it at the state, everybody has to have it, right? Because state trumps county, trumps city. But even if I got it in Snohomish County, so think about this. So I had a 0.5 acre lot. There's a bunch of them. It's inside the urban growth boundary. I could go in 100 days. I can get the lot split into 2 lots. So it won't take 2 years anymore. It's an expedited process. It's administrative. I will have to put frontage improvements in if they're necessary, but I'd end up with 2 lots. But here's the cool thing about it. I don't really have to be a developer or builder. By this summer, I can put 6 units on the front lot, 6 units on the back lot, and I can do 2 6-unit condos, and I become a huge developer. And so I sold 2 6-unit sites. And all I did was put $125,000 worth of frontage improvements in. And can you see the profit in being a paper developer now? We don't have to be oh my God, all the bonds and all that stuff in 2.5 years. I can get all this stuff done in like 6 months, and I can sell 12-unit sites on a lot split. What a killer deal. I mean, I've probably done 1,000 lots and 500 homes. Yeah, I know how long it takes to do this stuff and how long it takes to get it approved and how cash intensive it becomes. I'm not even cash intensive on this deal. I could make a deal with the guy that says, hey, I'll close in 6 months or I'll close in a year or whatever, as soon as I get it approved. And then I'm not even really out the money for very long, because all I'm going to do is, remember, I don't have to get the plat approved. I just have to record the condo. It takes my surveyor 2 months and my attorney 2 months to draw up the docs and draw up the plan and record it. And then I'm done and my builder buys it. And while I'm doing it, I sell it to him. And then we close 30 days after I'm recorded. Can we know where we're going? Okay. Sorry to spend so much time on that, guys. So here's the other one. This is the one that's going to be, we have to have in place by July 1st. So they gave us another density bonus for cities based on the size of our city and their attachment to other urban growth boundaries. So under 25,000 in all of these cities listed, this is from the Department of Commerce. I get a duplex on all single family lots. So remember, we have a duplex ordinance in Snohomish County that all single family lots inside the urban growth boundary already get a duplex. Well, the cities didn't have that. Well, now all these cities on this map, on this list, now they have to allow a duplex. Now Mill Creek is kind of funny. They don't have a duplex ordinance. I don't know why, but they said, well, we don't build them. Okay, fine. But Molly Terrace, Mukilteo, all of our locals now, every single family lot has to be a duplex. Let's go to the next one. So from 25 to 75, Marysville is getting really close. But we can also add Shoreline, Edmonds, Linwood, Lake Stevens, Mount Vernon, Bothell, Mount Vernon here, like I said, in 6 more months. All of these guys, you automatically get 2 units per residential lot, or 4 units if you're within a quarter mile of a major transit stop. Major transit stop is just an hourly stop by a bus. It's not the whole station and waiting area and everything. It's just if the bus stops hourly, that's a major transit stop. So you draw a quarter-mile circle, and you automatically get 4 units for a residential lot. Boom, here you go, free zoning. And it's automatic. They can't, unless you have a restriction in your CCNRs that limit it to 1 structure. Now, here's the big one. If I'm over 75,000, which for us is just Everett, all residential zone lots. What we did is we talked the city into, we said, okay, show me all your major transit stops. And there must have been 65 circles. They were everywhere. And you couldn't figure out what side of the bus stop I'm a quarter mile from. Am I this way, that way? So Everett's got in front of their council right now that every single family lot in Everett gets to be 6 units. That's a pretty good win. So, and they don't have to be within a quarter mile of the bus stop. And Everett, we just ran it the other day. I took a look at their new map. Everything down Broadway, Everything all the way up through Evergreen Way, they're gonna go to 7 stories. And you know what it looks like now. So everybody that owns properties within a block on either side, all the way up both of those roads, gets 7 stories. So somebody just made a bunch of money on all those crappy old pot shops and tattoo parlors and all that kind of stuff. It's just immediately is going to be done here in 2 more months. Okay, let's jump to the next one. I want to get you past. I hope you saw the win. So we talked about lot splitting. We talked about that rural dadu that you were talking about, you know, family compound and all that. FAR, we talked about that. Rent control bill, we don't want to talk about that. It's going to get passed. They've been running it at us for 10 years and we've been kicking it back and realtors have been kicking it back and we've been together. They think they're going to get it passed this time that allows for 7% maximum increase per year. And the sad thing about some of these, I didn't see the final writing, but it was almost like 6 months in advance. You have to let somebody know you're raising their rent. And I'm kind of going, holy cow, unless they move out.
Is that for the state?
Yes, that's a state. Okay, excellent. We'll get you through here. This is what happened to dadus when the city of Seattle passed the ordinance. So, and we don't have 2024 on there, but 2024 was another 1,000. So we went from 285 to 1,000 permits a year. And there's only like maybe 300 single family. So the days of old are gone. This is what we're going to be doing from now on. But it's ownership. I can get you new construction for 600 to 800,000 and 3 bedrooms in Seattle. That's kind of what we're looking for. Okay. This kind of is what we were talking about. This is what happens to pricing after recessions. See that every gray area is a recession. It's just, and so investors wait for that market and then they buy again. And then if they want to sell stuff, obviously they just follow the cycle of what's happening. So this is a good time to buy. Okay. This, I just want to kind of show you where we fit around the country. Close to list price ratio. We're number 4 in the country. Month supply and inventory. I call that the worst. It just got a little better this last month or so when we haven't had as many sales as we'd like. But I really feel like pricing is going to be pretty flat this year. I think we'd be lucky to get to 2% in our marketplace. And normally for the last 50 years, we've averaged 5, but we're not going to get there. Okay. Oh, that bottom one down there that I showed you.
Which way are we going?
Back way.
Yeah, it's not going back. Let's see if they could go back. Am I going back?
Yeah.
I'm
Probably do it. I can. Look at this one. That's the biggest change I've seen in my time in the marketplace. Our average age of a home buyer now is 56. Did you know that? I mean, I was really shocked. It used to be like 38. Last year it was 49. So it keeps spiking. And like I said, my group is the number 1 buyer now. So that's not right. That's not right. First time home buyers, 32%. Now 24%, and their age went from 34 up to 38 over the last year. And in 1981, the median age of all home buyers was 31. All home buyers. Is that a weird anomaly? That's the first time I've seen a spike like that. Okay, next one. We'll get these folks out of here. We don't need to spend much time on that. Let's do with zip. Here's another one. Year-over-year increases in new listings. We obviously are bumping up in that area. We're near the top as well. Okay, next one. I'm not going to pretty up this big. I tried to make it look like rates aren't so bad. Because over 50 years it averaged 7.7. And if I go back to World War I can probably make it look pretty good. Okay, there you go.
My first house was 8.25 in 1997.
9. I was
8.25 in 1997.
see, when was I? Wow, you timed it pretty good because I was 13. We were 12 and 7/8 and excited that it finally dropped below 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was buying for $70,000 back then. This is, again, you guys have seen this chart enough. You can see how many people are above 5%. 95% of mortgages are below 5%. That's a tough conversation to have in
It's
the living
artificial.
room.
It's the artificial number that came,
I
but
think we're paying it backwards.
Mm-hmm.
We're paying for all the deals we got stuffed in because 3 years ago, we sold like 6 million houses around the country. Let's keep going. This is that market I was talking to you about when it comes to existing home sales and how far back we had to go to match it. So don't feel like your world, it's just you. It is, we're all doing this. We're all doing this. Okay. That was just to show you, this is again, the way pricing works, because I was having a discussion with somebody, God, the prices are going down. I go, well, wait a minute, what time of year is it? Goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down. Every year it does the same thing. It just averages out. Okay. This is one I thought you'd think was interesting. Look at that. So that's just kind of very telling on how we are, we're survivors. I feel like this should be an AA meeting. I mean, I survived 23, 24. But see, we're almost selling half of what we sold in 21. I put the green for our peak in the last 12 years. And then I kind of showed you where we've been going on new construction and the rest of it. Our low year was last year. We're supposed to go up a little bit, but then this year, but again, I don't know that we're going to go up a little bit because things have burped again. So again, we're 25% higher than we were a year ago on our day-to-day closings. But I don't know what you guys have felt. Did you feel like things took off in March or about the same?
I think it ebbs and flows. I think it depends on the area,
Or the news?
the news in the area. Because I mean, I'm seeing homes like friends of mine that are closing deals on the east
Isn't
side.
here though?
Huh?
Don't you feel like Mill Creek's been pretty warm? No?
Seven flowing. We're not doing.
You're right about the east side. I
Yeah,
think
east
it has a
side's
whole
not-
lot to do with income.
Yeah.
But this was kind of shocking to me because again, I went all the way back. I didn't do it on this one, but I went all the way back to 8 and 9 and found out we were the same as we are now. Okay. Next one. This is just a local snapshot. It kind of shows you which towns are taking off and which ones aren't. And then it gives you an idea in March, new listings and in pending sales. So pending sales, good, that's up because we only had 726 closings. But 878, this is our 1,400 sale month. So we're not doing that right now because we usually spike for 4 months and then we flatten and go through. But look at pricing. We're above the curve still. We're still 4% over last year in our county. Okay. This was population. I just wanted to make sure you had your arms around this. You will win in real estate. You will win. We're not going to move over urban growth boundaries out, and we're going to get that many more people. So Marysville will be 100,000 people. Everett will be 244,000. In this same time period, we're going to get 1.6 million in the Puget Sound added to our population. And I know numbers just are like, well, numbers. That's 2 Seattles. So in the next 22 years, we have to build 2 Seattles to house the people that are coming here. You know how long it took to build Seattle? That's how much we have to build to handle these people. We have to build 50,000 units a year just to handle 20 years of growth in the state. Okay. I decided to do King County because we thought, okay, maybe we're the poster child for this. Maybe we're the ugly brother. But reality is they're about the same. They've been running about the same. They've been running 50 to 55% of our peak year. But if you go down below down here, our average year was somewhere in that $35,000, 35,000 sale range. So it's not like I'm just trying to compare it to our best year ever. We were between 36.5 down to 30,000. So okay, call it 34,000 sales. So still off the peak a hair. And you can see new construction. We're still not getting there. Okay. This is King County's numbers. A lot of commas on there. And you can see, like you just said, there are areas that are still doing really well and have increased in their price. Look at Bothell Woodinville. Holy cow. And I think we saw that when we showed Bothell at $950,000 increase. Man, if you've sold anybody in Mill Creek or Bothell, I sure would send something to them to kind of show them how much their house has gone up in appreciation. Maybe it's a time to sell routine, right? Made that much money on it. Almost at 1 million again. it hit 1 million, if you remember, a couple of years ago for just a snapshot. And we probably, I don't even know if we'll get there this year. I don't know if it'll go up that much. But look at that, 2.4 million people, 2,400 listings, 1,400 active, 2.4 million people. That shows you they're in worse shape than we are. We had what, how many did we have? 800 active, something like that. Okay. This is just to show you how we did last year, just as appreciation across the board. We were one of the top 3 states in the country for appreciation even last year. Okay. If you've wondered where people are going, this is what happened to us. Look how many people moved to Idaho, almost 15,000. Now we know that's politics. We know that's values, you know, that's school related things as well. I used to ask people when I'd see young couples when they were selling, I go, where are you going? I was really surprised. I didn't have, we weren't even maybe 50 a month we'd have selling, not as much as they were just because of job situations now, and then being able to work at home. But look, 20,000 to Texas. It's not like they got moved from McCord Air Force Base. We had 20,000 everyday people moved to Texas.
Mhm.
Shocking to me. So we lost 35,000 people. Again, we run all the housing and political action groups up here. So I'm not going Democrat, Republican parties because all we talk about is housing. 75% of the people that we endorse in this county that vote for us on housing issues and that we've spent an enormous amount of time on are Democrats. Republicans don't win that often up here. So we play the housing game. I don't get into the rest of it, but those are people that move to red states, right? And normally red voting people would have moved. And then you can see that the 2 blue states, about 70,000 people moved here. So and if you look at the last voting, again, we're not political here, but if you look at the last way we voted, we were the only state that went up in the percentage of people that voted Democrat. Again, I'm not, because again, I'm just talking housing issues, but as we try to manage our population, you can see where the people are coming from and they have a different value system than the people that are leaving. So that's but that's not going to change. This is a continuation. This won't stop just this year. It'll continue to go on for a few years. I don't know what the heck was going on in Georgia. 6,000 people moved there. I don't know if it was a job related thing.
Surprised that Arizona's not on there, and I'm surprised that South Carolina's not on there because I know a lot of people who moved to South Carolina, a lot of people who moved to Arizona, and also Tennessee.
I was just going to say Tennessee.
Tennessee, I'm kind of shocked about the whole Ohio thing.
We've got a couple of, go ahead and skip past that. We're fine. That's just talking Gen Z. This was just to give you an idea who can buy and who can't around the country. Yeah, but you can see what price range the people are in. Now you know why dadus and condo flats and things like that. But our fight with our officials is always housing stock. Quit talking to me about rooftops. Quit telling me about all this stuff. I want to talk to you about housing stock. And so we have a kind ear in most of our areas here because we've paid it forward and politically so much. But it's about resupplying housing stock and not apartments. Go ahead. And I think that's it. Any questions, any thoughts? Just remember, now that these are passing, when you're getting a package from us, from Brenda, always ask for a copy of the CCNRs now. Does that make sense? Because if they don't have CCNRs and you have access to the backyard, then you now have a development project. You have 2 dadus, you have whatever you have. If they have CCNRs that scratch them out, then we've got a plain old resale house. And we can know that it was marketed that way. And think about the need of our buyers. Some people don't want this stuff. They just want a controlled community with CCNRs, and you can tell them that that's what this is. Other people are looking like, hey, I'd like to make a little bit of money, more money on my investment in this house. I'm going to get out of here in a few years. If I knew that I could add 2 more units and that adds 100,000 in value, that's not bad. So again, keep that in mind as you're going through this because all your communities will have these ordinances. The middle housing one by population, just remember the cities that aren't connected don't get it. So unless they choose to just vote for it because they want to, cities like Snohomish and Monroe and Sultan and Granite Falls won't get middle housing. They don't get that automatic. Now, nobody can find Darrington, so it doesn't matter. But Darrington won't get it. All the ones that are isolated that aren't attached to Everett or our largest population cities don't get that ordinance. So you won't see it unless you just get daddies. Okay, now we're working with them though.
So she said we could get the slides. Since he's got it, can he just send them right now?
Can you skip that? Can you pull that? My name's not on there.
No,
Good.
we took
You
the
could,
last one out.
thanks.
You're
Um,
Yeah, I'll send it to you. I get absolutely.
just send it to everybody. But
Yeah.
you've got the explanation of the slides. I honestly, and I think this truly is, we're still kind of in the start of that investment. Let's go 2 years out when the market takes off again. And let's talk about everybody's figured out dadus and everybody's figured out middle housing. Where do you think prices are going to go again? All of a sudden, I mean, they have to go up just because the value involved. The pigs that are selling down in Seattle, because these guys, you go call a planner that you know, and he'll tell you, yeah, as a resale, it's 550, but yeah, you can do this and this, it's 645. And that's because they all understand the value of the increase and what they can do with the property.
So I know previously you said that certain cities have pre-approved plans.
It's just Kirkland and Seattle, but they're pre-approved for the old ordinance. So now they have to go back in and modify the plans to fit, to not have to be attached and to be separate dadus and things like that. So we're gonna work on Everett since they're our poster child for this. We are still struggling with Edmonds. They don't want us. We're going to have meetings with Linwood. They're still trying to find themselves a little bit. They want to be the apartment mecca. And that's
What
what
an aspiration.
I know. Well, you guys, they have 3,600 units in their system already either being built or permitted between the mall and the transit station. And where Sports Authority used to be, that's 1,400 units. The 1,400 units, the population of that building is more than the population of Stanwood.
It's just amazing, like you was talking about
It's
it.
over 3,000 people.
This ATU that just last year, and I live in this area, and I just can see it like over a year. How many is it just like popping on me, like you're driving, it's like, oops, they don't do that do.
I think it's great for
And
people
I'm
that are,
just right of Cascade.
So the house in the city, zoning says county R5
Yeah.
dash rural 5.
so you're a non-conforming lot in the R5 zone. So the only thing you can add there, we lost a lawsuit with FutureWise. We lost a lawsuit with FutureWise. So we're capped in the non-conforming lots that you can only do an attached dwelling unit and you can't condo it. So it has to be attached to the structure and it has to be living space. You can't have a 75-foot walkway with a little roof on it and put them out like this. They have to be on each other or attached to a garage or something like that.
Like a casino or something.
You'd have to be attached, yes.
And that's because why? Because
We lost a lawsuit with FutureWise. We added non-conforming lots to the existing ordinance we had for the rural area. And they saw it and they complained to the state and said that'll make growth above 4.5%. You can't do that. That's not right. That's not legal. And so they sued us for a year and we ended up losing. But the only thing they won was rather than a detached one, it had to be attached. Now tell me where the win is in that. I mean, it's still gonna get people living out there. And but it's more of a setup for mom and dad.
Yeah.
Kids, things like that, as opposed to being detached. But I just love the idea of that 5-acre idea. That's why it took so long, because it made sense. And when stuff makes sense, it always takes the other people longer because they think you're trying to trick them all the time. But the idea that you could go out and literally do a short plat through the condo in about a month and then go get 2 building permits for it and be in and out in a year, that is fantastic because you're borrowing money at 10%, right about 10% now If you're a borrower with a bank, you're probably 9.5. If you're borrowing hard money on construction, you're probably 11 and 12. And it spins fast. So the faster you can get them done. I hope small builders get back in the game because I think that 1,200 square foot Rambler with a 3-car garage would really sell on 1 acre.
It's just interesting the buying of people living smaller.
Yeah.
It's almost like the European way, because we're not right. Like, I mean, we don't live like that normally unless you're like, New York City, which I grew up in, like, or whatever. But in here, in that footprint, the amount that we live in a house and how much waste there is in a house. I mean, there's areas in my home, and it's not a huge home, but I'm never going in. I don't hang it.
I'm with you. I think that I like the reason I'm kind of pushing on the rural thing a little bit more is if they only want 4.5% growth out there, there's not going to be as many opportunities for people to get that 1 acre until this ordinance came on. And if we do them a little bit at a time, nobody will notice. But right now we run at 6% growth in the rural area. And the state told us 4.5. So they could come back at us if they wanted to make a big fit about it and get a moratorium put on building permits.
Mm-hmm.
And remember that 4.5% growth, that includes people that want to build their custom home
Mm-hmm.
and do rural clusters. Now we're kind of doubling down on these little ones here. But it's a great way for people to say, well, I want to live here. I don't need 7 acres.
Right.
I just want to sell you an acre and I'll sell it to you for $200,000. You can get that, but all you had to do was tell the guy, well, you record the condo, you can do a party share well with my well, and then you go get your own septic and hook up your PUD and I get another hit. And it just sits there on my retirement. I'm not kidding you. Most people don't want that much property. It just happened that they bought that much.
It's outmoded.
Mhm.
Yeah, but you have enough. And again, if you go out and look at somebody's yard, they'd be lucky to have a half acre or it's pasture or it's whatever it is. But the idea that now I could just peel that off in 90 days and make myself, I think in Cathcart, for example, out in that area, I think you can get 150 for an acre on a condo. Remember, because you're just limited in the size of the structure. But I still think you can get that amount of money. That's a nice cash hit.
Yeah.
And I can build that house in 6 months.
And you have good schools.
Yes, you do have good schools.
There's other pieces to that, right? So there's.
Yeah. But if I want to move out of my 3,600 square foot daylight basement in Mukilteo and I'm done, my kids are gone. All I do is
Not
store
worried about the
crap in
schools.
it.
No, you do because of the value.
Yeah.
It has value.
So stay away from the Getchell and Mary's, right?
Right.
Just stay down.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I mean. It's a value prop.
But more than that, it's more the idea that I can have my acre and now I'm gonna put an RV garage up because I'm not limited on what I can put on the property. I'm just limited to my living square footage. My garage isn't a part of that 1,200. And I know on a 1,200 square foot, we had that plan. I know I can put 3 bedrooms over here and 2 baths and still have a big, huge open living area on a Rambler. And, my group's looking for a Rambler, right? Anyway, it's kind of cool. I was surprised on one thing, townhomes. I was absolutely shocked. The majority of people had no kids. Because we thought we were doing it for millennials. We thought that was our group. The number one buyer when we started building townhomes became single professional women, single professional men, and retired couples.
Mm-hmm.
No maintenance, brand new. I just needed enough for Binky to pee. And so we started putting dog parks in all of them and took out the playgrounds. And so now every one of them has 2 benches and a little fenced dog park. And kind of hit the spot. But I was really surprised that 50+ professional person was the number one buyer of the townhome. The stairs.
I mean,
Even with the stairs.
I mean, I don't remember that, but that's my go-to.
I do it though.
I mean,
I do it. The
do
stairs
it. I
wouldn't
mean,
bother me.
no.
I just don't want to deal with anything. We got 2 maintenance guys we just use even for our house. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to pick any, well, that's not fair. My wife looked at me for that. But I don't want to paint anything. I don't want to, and I think we all get to a point where we're past that. But hey, thanks for your support of us and Brenda. And if you're not, we'll come find you. But and anybody online, if we haven't already lost you, thanks for being there.
Thank you, Mike. That was wonderful.
And I think I saw Mindy on there and,
Mindy was on, Kevin was on, and Mitch, our property manager, lead property manager was on. So,
great.
All right,
Well, guys, go forth.
thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mike.